All right, everybody, please take your seats. We're going to go ahead and get started. It is my absolute distinct pleasure now to introduce Karen Petrou, who is our incoming chair of the board. And let me tell you just a little bit about Karen. Karen was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa when she was 18 years old and has been involved with the foundation. I'm sorry?
I said bummer.
Bummer, yes. And has been involved with the foundation in so many different ways for decades. She joined the board in 2006 and was actually elected to become the incoming chair of the board a year ago. So she has been the executive vice chair this past 12 months and officially assumes the role as chair of the Foundation Fighting Blindness in just a couple weeks on July 1st. She is an absolute powerhouse. Those of you who have not met or engaged with Karen, make it a point to. She's a powerhouse. She's passionate. She's intelligent. She is exceptionally skilled in so many different ways, but especially as it relates to our initiatives in federal policy and advancing initiatives that are important for the foundation and for our community. And it's very, very important stuff. Karen and her late husband, Basil, were instrumental in architecting what was originally called I-bonds. How many people clap if you've heard of I-bonds? And then now bio bonds. So clap if you've heard of bio bonds. That's right, there you go. And in her day job, works with both policy and financial matters here in the US and abroad. And I'm just so excited to be working closely with her in her new role as chair of the board. And it's my pleasure to give the mic over to her. So.
Thank you. Come on, sit. Not you, you're all sitting. And I'm going to give another command, do not do it. Lie down. Thank you all so much. This is really exciting. The positive energy in this conference has been fabulous. We just keep the energy going, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that. I'm often asked when I travel, walking through airports or running around in my daily and professional life, people just come up to me and sort of out of the blue say, how much can you see? And the answer to that is not much, not anymore. But I like to think that I still have vision, because that's different. We don't call this sight 24, this is visions, because that's what we're about. Understanding how we can move treatments and cures faster to as many of us as possible, and as we do, make that journey as successful as possible for each of us traversing that road. We've done a great deal for that. You've heard so much at this meeting already about fabulous progress in clinical treatments and trials, as well as in work to be sure that, again, all of us are thinking about guide dogs, if you want, learning about airports, thinking through how to handle that diagnosis without it shutting your life down. That work is thanks to all of you here, to the heritage of Ben Berman, who's helped to start the foundation, to Gordon and his late wife Louie's inspiration, David Brint's dedication, and to my colleagues on the board of directors who really do work tirelessly for all of us here and around the world. And I'd like particularly to thank two committee chairs sitting on the board who are still here with us, Brad Manning and John Steinberg. Thank you both so much. It's been a privilege working with you over the years, and I can't wait to take that into the next 3 to 5 when I have this post, and I'm doing my best. What does that mean? Obviously, it means speeding treatments and cures across the spectrum of inherited retinal disease and now age-related macular for the patient population as a whole across disease stages from early to late stage, from prevention, preservation, and restoration. It also means being sure that as a group of people dedicated with the vision to fight for sight, we also have the vision to understand that life with vision impairment is harder. It's harder in a lot of logistical ways, and it's harder in ways based on the profound stereotype that comes with, quote, blindness. Surveys indicate that more Americans would rather die than go blind. And we all have vision, we all have lives. To tell the parents out here, I've talked to many of you, help your children, but don't fear for them, they'll be fine. Particularly now with the technology. When I started losing my sight, the computers didn't talk. That made it a lot harder, trust me. They do now, and they pretty well, and it'll be better. We have lives of personal achievement, fulfillment, professional, educational success. There are obstacles, but it can be done. And at the Foundation, we want to help everyone here make this journey to, we hope, vision preservation, prevention, and restoration as speedy, but also as constructive, as helpful as we can. So how do we do that? How do we take that vision and put it to work? First, of course, is science. That's our fundamental focus, speeding treatments and cures. You've heard some at this conference. I'll talk a little bit more about our scientific advisory board. It's really important to know these are 60+ global professional clinicians, MD, PhD, really, really smart people. I'm just impressed by them and the Executive Science Advisory Board that guides their work and pulls it out. The goal here is that we fund that which makes science sense. And this is complex science. We need the best advisors we can. And they are formidable. I was in Seattle last month at the annual meeting in which thousands of vision researchers from around the world show up to learn the latest and the best. And I was really thrilled to hear company after company wanting to work with FFB, not only because they like our money, but because they want the prestige that working with the Foundation provides in the field. That's something in my day-to-day life we call intellectual capital. It's not hard dollars, but it is priceless because it means you work with the best people and the money flows to where you think it should go. So our Science Advisory Board is an amazing resource, and I hope as you meet the members who are here and those as you, whether they're your clinicians or the scientists behind the clinical trials, whatever, their work is vital to the Foundation. You've heard Rusty Kelly and Jason talk a bit about the Retinal Degeneration Fund, the RD Fund. This is where we want to take the science that the Science Advisory Board provides often, which is earlier stage, basic to preclinical research. But once something is poised and ready to go to the clinic, it costs serious money. We do our best to raise lots of money, but clinical trials are really expensive, even the early stage ones. So the Foundation is not unique, but unusual among patient foundations in having what's called the Venture Philanthropy Fund. That means working with a fabulous board of the RD Fund chaired by Adrian Graves, who's here. Shout out, Adrian. Yep. We have a board of thanks to Adrian and the team, we have a board of some of the most distinguished vision researchers and venture capitalists and funders in this field, people with a lot of experience in taking inherited retinal disease and age-related macular disease from the clinic through to the FDA for drug approval and out to patients, not just for treatments and cures, but also for profit to the investors. We want to partner with those investors because they will always have lots more money than we as a philanthropy can raise. But an venture philanthropy fund is a unique, it's a hybrid. All of us contribute to the foundation, and the foundation feeds funds into the RD fund, and then often people directly provide funding to the RD fund. And that is, when we spend that money, it's matched with the private sector, venture capital, strategic investors. FFB has about $126 million in assets under management. Of the funds that have been deployed so far, we're averaging about a 10-to-1 leverage ratio. That means for every dollar we spend, we're getting $10 in from the private sector, and that is really powerful. We need to do more of that. We need to have more funders, more participants, because in the philanthropy, this is an evergreen fund. We're not making the money we make in the RD fund as a foundation, and nobody invests in the RD fund. We contribute to it. All of that money recycles so that when we have a successful project, we make some money at it, it goes right back to work for each of us here. And that is a great model. Well, how do we pick what goes through the Science Advisory Board and what they recommend that we do, and then the projects that the RD Fund participates in and seeks additional funding for? How do we pick that? We do a 5-year science plan, which is a collaboration between the Science Advisory Board and the Board of Directors of the Foundation. We finished that this Thursday, when the board approved the next 5-year, $139 million. Yes, that's a big plan. And we're already putting it to work. What are the key things I'd like to tell you about the plan? I think they're really exciting. First, we're focusing more than ever on unmet needs. You've heard a lot of talk about the need to find more genes, to discover and understand elusive aspects of the genotype, name more, but we know that we need to know more about the genes, but we know a fair amount about the genes of people of European descent. We know much less about the gene types of other groups, particularly persons of African descent. We need to be sure that the genotypes that we understand and that move through the clinic really represent the full patient population, not just those of us who've signed up for my retina tracker. And if you haven't, please do. It's really important. And if you know patients who haven't, please ask them to do it. But we'll be reaching out. We're thinking through our clinical trials, the best researchers with a broad spectrum of unmet needs, so that FFB is really mindful of our community as a whole. That's job 1 under the new science plan. Job 2, science has moved forward so fast that we no longer need to think just about that which we knew about 5 years ago, which was principally gene augmentation based on Luxturna's success. All of the clinical trials now are beginning to show ways not just to preserve and maybe restore vision at early stages, but also to restore vision lost even in the later stage. As a late stage patient myself, I'm really super excited about this. I have to tell you, I honestly think that I will see in my lifetime. Maybe not as well, but some is good. Some would be really good. Which brings me to the third thing we're working on, endpoints. Some of you talked to me about this last night. For those of you who don't know, this sounds technical, it sounds geeky, it's really critical. We need to be able to explain, drugs very rightly need to be approved in the United States, in Europe, and in other countries by national regulators who don't want people doing things like we talked about at the last stem cell session, just sticking stuff in people's faces, in their eyes, with unknown or even potentially highly dangerous side effects. We need to have a rigorous process of safety and efficacy before people start doing things to other people. Well, But how do you know? How do you know when a treatment works, particularly in a rare disease that can progress very slowly? Do you know that you've really slowed progression unless you know how long it's going to take for vision loss to occur? How do you measure vision? This is a particular issue of some people talked to me last night about it. I feel really strongly about it. At this point in my life, I don't really want to see down to the bottom line on the eye chart. I just want to see the damn eye chart. That would be good. That would be vision improvement for me. If I could see the way I saw when I got my first guide dog 20 years ago when I was pretty blind, I would be ecstatic. So we have to work with the FDA to explain to them that the endpoints here are not like hopping off, out of bed and saying, woohoo, I can dance. That's not what this is about. It's more complicated, and we have to show what these endpoints are, because we won't get the money. Investors want, this is the thing about investors, they really want their money back. They have often a fiduciary duty to do that, or it's their money, they just want it back. We can't show them, and the researchers across the field can't show them, that we're designing our study with an endpoint to demonstrate success that the FDA is likely to agree with, then we may be wasting our money. We've already seen this, where we've had trials in which patients say they really see better, and the FDA says, no, you don't. We say, excuse me, I really do. No, you don't, because we can't measure it, we don't see it, you don't. But we do. So we got to work on that, and we're very focused on those endpoints. They're absolutely critical to our plans. So unmet needs, endpoints, and the full range of early to late stage vision. Finally, we're also doing something really exciting, which speaks to FB's global leadership role. We are working with, or we expect to be working with, the federal government on what's called a moonshot, an absolute high-risk, awesome reward scientific project to do whole eye transplants. And wouldn't that be cool? Across the whole field of vision loss, injury, late-stage disease, if we could restore vision through successful eye transplants. Now, we hope that that project moves forward, and it's the fact that the federal government is talking about working with the foundation really, again, speaks to that intellectual capital, all of the hard work that the staff, the scientists, all of us here on the board, and all of you have done to bring treatments and cures forward as quickly as we can. How are we going to do that on the ground? We've got lots of work going on to be sure that the foundation works as effectively throughout the community, not just with scientists, but with everyone here. Jason and his terrific team of staff, yes, thank you all, not just for this conference. Tireless work, dedication, passion. None of them could do what they do if they didn't care as much as they do, and I know I'm grateful, and I know you all are too. One of the things Jason has led the way on is a new infrastructure across the country so that FFB staff on the ground are closer to where all of you are. A new infrastructure that will support chapters, science programs, fundraising events, closer to you, more knowledgeable about you and your community, able to meet your needs faster and more effectively. I think you're going to see a significant amount of transformational presence of a foundation in each of your communities as a result of this in the very near term. Now, how much does all this science and all this infrastructure cost? A lot. We've done a lot with what we have, but we've got a lot more to do. I mentioned before that clinical trials cost money. Mice are cheap. The toxicology, the safety, the multi-center clinical trials, the scope of research when it moves closer to each of us in our doctor's offices is tens of millions of dollars per drug or device. There's just a lot more we're going to need to do, both on our own and with other partners, to raise this kind of money. So I hope as you work through with the chapters, with the new infrastructure, we come up with innovative new ways to generate funds through events, through major gifts, through, if you can, when you're ready, support of the Legacy Society. If you'd like to discuss participating in the RD Fund, those are all the ways you can help us really make this happen. The success so far, we're really rounding second and we're seeing third base. That's fabulous. 5 years ago, I think we were pretty much on first base. We've gone to second and we're beginning to turn the corner. But the next stretch, we don't win the game unless we bring it on home. And that's obviously where we're going to be working with all of you over the next 5 years to make the science plan as successful as we can. Finally, we're going to be as transparent as possible. This is really important to me. Governance is clear. We all agree on what we're doing. It's not edicts from on high. This is on the board. It's a collegial process of people who have fabulous expertise, and with all of you, it's doing what we can to speed the treatments and cures we want, ease the journey wherever we can, and do what we need to do as well as we can for each of you. Do not hesitate to reach out to me personally anytime. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find my email address in a lot of different places. Let me know what you need, when you need it, and how we can help you. I'm truly honored to have taken on this role. Thank you all very much for entrusting it to me, and I cannot wait to do it. Thank you.